Okay, so guys, there is a few things you need to understand when it comes to a WordPress site. WordPress, unlike what we've built now, is not an HTML page or HTML with images that we then upload. It's a whole system. It's almost 8,000 files which you pre-upload and then you build the whole site online. That's very important to understand. And if you understand what technologies it uses, then it's very easy to actually create a site in any server. Like I was looking with Leora now at the MWeb way. They make it difficult because you need your FTP account details and you need your database. I'll explain what that is in a moment. But if you find a host, ask them. You need that. A lot of them use the cPanel, and I find it very frustrating to work with that cPanel. Host also uses it, but theirs is a bit more user-friendly. Hetzner, I do everything Hetzner. Like I said to you, there's services in Durbanville and in Germany, so you can work with international sites, but you'll see now how easy they make this whole process. But first, let's look at the technologies you need in order to create.
Is Hetzner is the host?
They're the hosting company, yeah. Okay, so if we were to, I'm just going to jump to, where's my video clips now? Okay, this is going to explain to you what a LAMP stack is. Okay, a LAMP stack is what you need in order to create a WordPress site or a Joomla site or a Drupal site. And LAMP stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Now, Ricky should be able to tell us what Linux and Apache is because he just did his networking. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the type of machine which the big hosts are using. These big machines and the big hosting company, that is a Linux Apache machine. Linux is something like Windows or like Mac or operating system, but it's for servers especially. Let's look at what this guy has to say.
Hello, my name's Randy. In this Treehouse Quick Tip, we're going to talk about the LAMP stack. If you're unfamiliar with this term, I can assure you, it's quite different than a stack of lamps. A stack in this sense is a technology stack or a solution stack, a list of all the major components used to form a complete technology solution. The LAMP stack is probably the most common stack used for hosting websites and web applications, especially among small to medium-sized sites. LAMP is an acronym that stands for four major components: Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Each of these components are open source and free to use, which has helped contribute to their popularity. Let's look at how a typical web request works to see what each component does. A visitor to a website will enter a web address in a browser. This will send off a request to a web server. That web server will execute some code that generates an HTML file and sends it back to the visitor's browser. All the LAMP components are installed and running here on the web server. A server is a type of computer, and it needs an operating system. The L in LAMP stands for Linux, the operating system in this stack. You probably have Microsoft Windows or Apple's Mac OS X running on your desktop computer, but Linux is incredibly popular for servers. The operating system provides a base foundation on which all the other components can run. The A stands for Apache, which is the web server software. It receives and handles all those requests from visitors. If someone requests index.html or lolcat.jpg, Apache looks on the server for the file and sends it back to the visitor's browser. Let's skip the M for a moment and look at the P, which usually stands for PHP. It could also stand for Perl or Python, though these are not as common. PHP is a programming language for generating dynamic web pages. When a visitor requests a PHP file, Apache won't just get that file and send it back to the browser like it does with HTML files or with images. Instead, it gives the file to PHP first. PHP executes the code in that file and generates the HTML for the web page. The HTML generated by PHP goes back to Apache and then back to the visitor's browser.
Let me stop there. So, what did we have before when you created the Muse and the Dreamweaver site? We had the Apache and the Linux server. This morning when you made your site live on webfriendly.net, you uploaded it to a Linux Apache server. And what happens when you request your URL webfriendly/Mache? It goes onto the server, which is in Durbanville, onto the Apache server, the Linux server, and it pulls the HTML files and it brings it back to the web browser. What's different now, today, is WordPress is based on PHP technology. There's no HTML pages. PHP is a programming language. But what happens is the web browser requests a page, let's say the home page of a WordPress site. It goes onto Apache, it says, okay, this is a WordPress site. I need to go and consult with PHP what to send. PHP asks the database, what is the content of the home page? Is there supposed to be a picture? Is there a welcoming message? It says that's the data. It goes back to PHP. PHP converts it to HTML, CSS, and images, and Apache returns it to the user. See how this is different? It's an intelligent website. It's not just a site.
If you start a WordPress site and then you decide that you want to develop it on Dreamweaver or whatever, can you change
You can, but then you delete the whole WordPress site.
Yeah.
And then you just upload your Muse or Dreamweaver files. You can do that, yeah. Because remember, your web server is your web server. Whatever you put on there is what you want there. Okay, and you'll see now when I do it where it is. Okay, let's look at the rest here.
The M stands for MySQL. This is a database engine used for storing a site's data. Often the data needed to generate a PHP file depends on who the visitor is, like their name or account number or order history. A database allows that data to persist over time. PHP retrieves that data from the database, uses it to generate the HTML for the page that then gets sent by Apache back to the visitor's browser. The LAMP stack is one of the more popular stacks for building websites and web applications, but it's of course not the only one. Windows-based websites often run IIS instead of Apache, SQL Server instead of MySQL, and ASP.NET instead of PHP. Applications running Java instead of PHP often use IBM's WebSphere or Oracle's WebLogic to handle web requests, and they often use Oracle's database engine for storing data. There are other popular open-source programming languages like Ruby, Python, and Node.js, as well as other open-source database engines like PostgreSQL, CouchDB, or MongoDB. You should now have a good idea of what the LAMP stack is and what all of its components do, and you shouldn't have any trouble distinguishing it from one of these.
All right. So, what is explained is we need, for this WordPress site to work, a PHP database, and we need we need an FTP account, and we need a MySQL database. So this process I'm going to show you is how I built a whole website from scratch. If a client approached me and said, okay, I want a WordPress site. So exactly where do you go? Where do you get your domain names? What do you do? Now, the first step I can give you, and this is something that I just do, is I create a detail sheet. So for the sake of today, we're going to say, okay, we're going to create a site for a company called EndurFit, which is a triathlon showcase that's going to be at the Coca-Cola Dome in Joburg, let's say, for instance. So I'm going to firstly create a folder here. Now the files I'm going to use is inside this site example that I gave you, and you can even go play with it. And this is the detail sheet I did for the group before, but I'll delete all of this now so that you understand where this comes from. Firstly, we want to say, what is the Hetzner account, or AfriHost account, or MWeb account, depending on where you're hosting it. Okay, we want to first ask, is endurafit.co.za, is it available? Even before we register this domain name, we want to know, is our domain name available? So we go to Hetzner and we say here, under domain, where is it, domains? Remember we did this on Tuesday? We're going to say endurafit.co.za. Is it available? Okay, it's taken. So these are what is available. Okay. Yeah, which one?
Blended.
Blended.
Yeah.
Oh, blended. It won't be. Well, .co.za might be available. Still searching. It's taken.
Yeah.
But those are available. So you firstly find your domain. Now, if it was in Durafit or whatever, we would then say sign up now. And they take you through this process. You just sign up, you put your email address, you put everything in. And what do they send you? They send you this little details. I'm going to pull up mine here.
I wish I didn't go through them.
But just if you understand now what I'm doing, you're going to be able to ask them, this is what I need. But I'll just show you how beautifully Hetzner does this. So once you're registered, this is the first thing I put on the details sheet to say, this is my account. They send you that in an email. So now you know, okay, I've got my account details. I'm going to use this to log in.
The username and password.
That's the username and password that they send you. Yeah. So you would go to what we call Console H on Hetzner, and you will log in with those details and it brings you to Console H. This is similar to AfriHost and MWeb cPanel. Okay, this is where you manage your account. This is where you set up your email addresses. This is where you set up your databases. Everything to do with your database, your website server, it's done in here. Now let's imagine for a moment that in Durafit is a URL that I've already registered. Now there's all the URLs that I own on this account. But I'm going to use Webfundi today. So just use your imagination and think that webfundi.net is in durafit.co.za. So I'm clicking onto that account which Hetzner just gave me. And I'm saying in my details sheet, my domain name, the FTP details is www.webfundi.net. And now I need the username and password for the main account. So the username and password here for this one, if you find in Hetzner over on FTP users. And then they give you your main account username and password.
And they give you that whenever you register a new site.
When you've registered, yeah. But remember, with your registration, you need to ask for a hosting account. And for that, you ask for the basic hosting account. So when they take you through that whole process, you say new order, you say this is my domain name that I want, but I want a basic account. That's R100 a month. Then you get this space on Console H, and you get space for your website. So once you've done that and you log in, you get this details. Okay. So I'm going to put this in here. It's similar to, once they send you that login, you could also have done this. Let me put this password in. I could have said here, I want to do a new order. Let me see where that is. Manage services. Let's go. Hosting services. So when you get here in the first time, you say new order. Because you registered your domain name, now you want to tell it which hosting account. So what do you want? Do you just want the domain name? Do you just want to reserve the domain name now? Or do you actually want to build a website? And if you want a website, it's a web hosting account and you register for this one. They'll ask you for your credit card details, you put on a debit order on your account, or you can say you want to do EFTs as you wish, but this is the account you need. Okay, so once you've registered for that and you come back in here to your account, that domain name will be available here under your web hosting. I've got a volume plan, so that's why mine is in a volume plan. Yours will appear down here, as in our case, in durafit.co.za. Now I'm going on that one.
Sorry, so if you know that you're going to do a whole bunch of websites in the future, you go to the
volume plan, yeah.
Volume plan.
Because volume plan is 600 Rand a month and you can host as many sites as you want.
Okay.
It just makes much more sense. So now on Webfundi, what do I need? I need the FTP details. What else do I need before I can build the site? Yeah, well, yeah, the PHP is going to be the file structure, which is the WordPress files. And then I need a MySQL database. And that you do over here under Manage Services, Manage MySQL. Okay, there's all the databases on this Webfundi account. I'm going to add one. And all you do is you take their presets and you say add. Right. Now, you take down these details. You need 4 things. You need the server, the username, the password, and the database name. That's the 4 things you need. And that's exactly what they gave you over there. So I'm just going to copy that. There's the database name.
When will you use the MySQL information?
When you set up your WordPress site. When we deploy WordPress now, we're going to need those details. So username there.
So any other site you design and then you start hosting. But WordPress, you start hosting,
That's
then you
correct.
design.
That's correct. You create it on the hosting server and then you create the site. So it's a complete reverse process. So now we have the FTP details. In other words, we have a way to put the WordPress files on the server. Now we have a database, which is what WordPress is going to use for all our content. Okay, what else do we need? At this stage, nothing, because now we can install WordPress. So here we're going to say WordPress login, because we're going to use that later. You see that I'm actually just using my details sheet for all the details of that site, because if a client comes back to me after 3 years and I have no clue what their login details is, what their FTP details is, everything is here. It's in a simple Word file for me, and I normally store it in the root folder of that client's folder. Then I know that's that client's, all their details is on there. And you know it's safe because it's not in an email somewhere, nobody can hack it, it's on my computer. Okay. Now, where do you get the WordPress files? On wordpress.org. And what you need is this download WordPress file. It's a zip file, and it's almost 8 megabytes big and contains 8,000 files. Even files that you might not use. You might not use the blog inside of WordPress, but you're going to download all the files. You're going to install the full system, and then you're going to deploy it and start using it. Okay. Now, I've downloaded it already, and it's inside your Webfriendly folder. And there's WordPress. So remember, if you do this install and you do it at home, you can use that file. Okay, now I'm going to upload that.
Excuse me, in September, what is die file wat ons nou doen?
That one there.
Ja, okay.
And that file is inside of your folder
Okay.
over there.
Okay.
In the WordPress CMS. Otherwise, you know, there's sometimes a newer version. I think this is the latest version. But otherwise, just download it there. Now, we need to get that file online, don't we? So I'm going to go here. How can I get that file on to the Durbanville server? Does that make sense? Because it's still just files that need to get on the server. So I'm going to go here to Webfriendly. And today you guys are creating this site, or I'm going to create this site inside the EnduraFit folder. Let's see if I can create that folder. There's one already. Let me delete this one now. I'm going to make it, well, actually I can delete it here quickly on the account. Okay, I'm going to make a new one. So I'm going to say, yeah, EnduraFit. What would you guys have done if it was your site? Now, where would you have put those WordPress files? Would you have put it under a folder like EnduraFit?
No,
Why not? Because you don't want your URL to be endurafit.co.za/endurafit/. That's stupid, isn't it? So you would put in the main folder so that it's endurafit.co.za. There's all the WordPress files. Understand? So the more subfolders you have here, the more you go // in your site. I'm putting it there because all the other people's sites are here. So we're going to work with webfriendly.net/endurafit. Does that make sense?
So we would put it in the public.
You'll just put it in public HTML. Yeah, because you want it on your main domain. Okay, now I'm going to find those files. or the WordPress files. And I'm uploading that whole zip file. Okay, I right click and I say upload. Now it's uploading that full 9 meg file, which is all the files for the WordPress system.
But you don't have to unzip it or anything, just drag it in.
Just drag it up, yeah. Because you need to now unzip it, but where are you going to do that? Where can you unzip things? Not in here. Yeah, but you need to do it in your server software. Where's your server software? Inside? Console H. Because remember, this is where your files reside. It's the only place where you can unzip that file. So if I now go in here and I refresh, I should see the Endurofit folder. And I'm going to go File Manager, because this is the same as browsing your files, but now you're doing it on the server. This file sit on the server. And there's the Endurofit folder. I'm going to open it. And there's a zip file I just uploaded. I click it and I unzip it. Voila. Now there's the files. But what did it do? It went to put it into a subfolder. Another subfolder. Now look at that mess. What would the URL of my site be now? If I were building the site, what would the URL be? webfriendly.net/Endurofit/WordPress 401.zip/WordPress. What a mess. You see why it's so important to put these files in the correct folder. So if you go back to FileZilla and we refresh it here, it will say to you, okay, that's the folder it has now. So you go into that folder, you go into this folder, you select all these files, and you put it back into the main folder. Done. Because now it's under webfriendly.net/Endurofit. That's it. So you have to always do that. Remember, once you've unzipped it, you have to get your files into the main folder. What is the first file that a web server wants? Index. Dot. Yeah, up to now we said .html. Now it's going to be index.php. Let's see if it's there. There it is. Okay, which means it will run from that folder. Okay, so that's the whole process. That's what we need to do. Now we can install WordPress. So let's recap. What did we need? Firstly, we needed to register the domain, get a user account. Number 2, do you want me to write this down? This is the most crucial bit because this is not in the videos. So, number 1, register with Hetzner. Check if domain name is available. Register domain name and order hosting account. I'm going to put here basic, 99 Rand a month. What do you do next? Now we've got our account, what do we need?
You get all your details from that account.
What's the most important details? Because remember, we want to upload WordPress. What do we? Yes. So what is, okay, get your FTP details. And I'm going to say, yeah, put them on your detail sheet. Not like a cat purr, but put. Okay, next. What is the next one we need? MySQL, because we need the database. So set up MySQL database. And put on detail sheet.
And those details you also get on the hosting site.
Yeah.
In the backend or on your login.
Yeah.
So you sort of have a detail sheet in your hosting
In the
backend.
No, in the client folder.
In your client.
Look at all my client folders. There's all the sites that I'm working on.
No, I mean on Hetzner you sort of have all the details.
Yeah, but you put it on a detail sheet.
No. But
Yeah.
say you do lose it, you could actually.
You can go back to there. But yeah, whatever site I'm working on, I always have a detail sheet. So, okay, there's the detail sheet. Every one of them have a detail sheet because then I know that details. It's just a method that I've come up with, but it's so important because then you don't struggle every time you forget the details. So now you download WordPress from wordpress.org and you upload the zip file to your domain. And I'm going to say here, put in public HTML folder. Go to Hetzner console H and unzip WordPress file. Go back to FileZilla and move files for WordPress to main root folder. Okay, that's your whole process.
Are you then deleting those folders after you've moved it to the main root folder? Because there's nothing
Yes, you don't need those folders, exactly. Let's say this here. Deployment process. So now with all of that, you should have the files in FileZilla. You should see, oh, there's all of my files in the root folder. So I can delete that WordPress file, can't I? Because I've already unzipped it. So I can delete that one. Now I'm ready to actually build the site. So where do I go? In my web browser, I go to /
WP and
no,
the endurance.
Endurafits. Remember that was the root folder for this site? And there you go. Now it's giving you the setup screen. That means perfect. We've deployed the files there. It's ready to install. Now you just run through this process. It's very easy. You just say, okay, this is English South African. Now it's going to tell you, in order to create a WordPress site, you need those details. I know that already, don't I? We just set that up inside of Console H. Now you say, let's go. And there it's asking me for the details that I recorded in the detail sheet. So I'm going to say the server is that one. The username. That's the password. And the database name. That's that.
Wait,
I remember what I said to you yesterday. Yeah?
what was the database first?
The server. Server. Remember, Hetzner gave us in Console H, they gave us that when we said that's our database. So, which is the one I created for you? See there. it gave us that server. Okay, now once I've put that in, can you see we're actually working in the web browser? Now, yesterday I said to you to make a site unhackable, if a hacker sees a WP, it knows it's a WordPress site. So the biggest tip I can give you is to just change that prefix. I'm going to make endure fits. Voila. Now it's already much more difficult to hack my site. And table of prefix just means it's going to create a lot of tables of database content for you now. And what is the prefix? It's going to be EF users and EF content and EF blog 1 and all of these things. And I'm going to submit. And it says run the install. And there's my site. Okay, my site is EnduroFit. My username, now you have to decide. Don't make it admin. Okay, it's easy to hack. Make it EnduroFit admin or something like that. And then use a very strong password. Now never do what I'm going to do today. I'm going to make it admin and password. Because I want you guys to be able to go play with this site. Okay, so I'm going to record that. Once again, you put that in your details sheet and you say, my WordPress login is username, admin, password. Terrible, terrible. Never do that. Okay, and I'm going to say that's my email address. And it's for WordPress.
Can I just ask, so you, how did you, that whole thing, WP admin install.php, so that URLs, you just know to go there, or did you get there via the hosting?
No to go where? This?
Yeah.
It did it itself.
It did it itself.
I only went here.
Okay.
Because remember, I know that's where I uploaded the files, and then it did the rest. It found the files, then it ran through the process of
So
installation.
that's all to know.
Yeah. So, so if I were to now look, the site is finished. Now it's saying to me log in, and there's my login screen. I can actually record this and say, oh yes. So if I want to log in, I will always come to this address. Okay, that's for the back end. And the front end of my site would be that address. So let's go look at our site. Ta-da! There's my EnduroFit site. So there's nothing on there yet, but we have it. And if we log into the back end, I'm going to use admin and password.
Is there a sample of a detail sheet on our Flash?
No.
A random without information.
I can give you one. I'll give you this one.
I think
Okay.
there was one.
Yeah, there it is. What I'm going to do, okay, so there's your back end of your site and there's a front end of the site. Now what I'll do is I'll stop this recording here.